Dragon Ball Legends has many characters, but a few of them will have these things called unique gauges. Some give you more ultimates than a unit would normally have, some allow you to combo for longer, and some allow you to be a genuine piece of shit. Point is, many units benefit from having unique gauges, but for this video I'll be looking at one specific type of gauge, the counter gauge. This type of gauge works by doing as advertised. It counters specific arts or actions. These are all the characters with counter gauges, and note I'm going to rank them based on how good or useful their gauge is, not so much the character themselves. And again, I'll not be going too into detail with these gauges, just the standout stuff to make it easier on all of us. And this is all my opinion, so if I say something that you don't agree with, please don't take it to heart. Take it to the comments. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin.
This is super homophobic.
In last place, we have Ultra Super Vegito. Look, I know this unit was pretty much the first to have a unique gauge like this, but that's not my problem. The way it works is that when the gauge is at 30% or more, and the opponent uses a blast attack or blast tap, you have to use a strike art to deflect it back at the opponent and damage them, depleting your whole gauge. But how does this gauge recharge, you may ask? Well, you have to take physical abuse or just have the opponent use their strike or blast arts in general, and it will slowly charge back up, with an additional amount being added when the enemy's combo ends. Switching to standby also works. To be honest, I'm not going to go too hard on this guy. Being the first of anything can have its downsides, but still, the gauge isn't all too useful. Sure, you could potentially take a chunk of your enemy's health, but once that gauge is at 0, you have to rely on the enemy's attacks to refill it. And if you end up in a situation where Vegito's by himself, you screw up the timing, or your cards get locked, well, bye bye Vegito. And in a meta where letting your opponent get one hit in can possibly lead to losing a unit, this gauge is not very good, and that's why I think it is the worst counter gauge in Dragon Ball Legends. But to its credit, it can't run out. In 5th place is Ultra Gogeta Blue. And it's not because his gauge is bad, it's just that with the release of newer characters, it really made it hard for it to succeed. You see, UGB's gauge is filled by getting hit, and once that gauge is full, he will destroy all strike arts and be able to deflect blast arts and long range blue cards. And once the gauge activates, he replaces one card for a blue card. This effect only activates once though. The issue here is that his blue card is a close range blue card, and these type of blue cards have been treated rough, made worse by units like Ultra UI Sign, this disgusting creature, and Monkey. Again, it isn't all bad. Destroying the opponent's strike arts pretty much forces the opponent to activate the gauge, and you can also chain it with an ultimate art. Also, going tied neutral is handy. But again, if you are facing these guys, especially him, the offensive part of this gauge often can't be realized. So as a counter, it works well, but other aspects of it have been done incredibly dirty, just like UGB himself. So that's why I placed it in 5th place.
The fuck up, you nasty bitch. I don't know how the fuck you jump on my son, you little nasty ass nigga. Shut your little bitch ass up, you dirty bitch. Who the fuck is this long head ass, long jawbreaker looking ass nigga named Miss Mary? Shut your bitch ass up, you hungry ass.
Alright, now we're getting to the good stuff. At number 4, we have Ultra Super Janemba. This is a great unique gauge. Annoying, but great. The reason for this is because he starts with his gauge already filled, like Ultra Vegito. But there is real weight here, because he also draws an ultimate once that gauge is used up. So it can really help early in the match or later if you are willing to save it. Best believe this thing was a nuisance when it first dropped. That's not all though, because when the counter activates you also get your vanishing gauge back to full, and this happens 3 times. So it really helps if you screw up somewhere or in a 1v3. But there are still other unique gauges to cover, so let's move on. At 3rd place we have
Don't wanna.
At 2nd place, we have Go Frieza. Yes, I do think Go Frieza has a better unique gauge than this thing. Although very slightly. Sure, they can't easily recharge their gauge or have multiple uses, but being able to completely negate a rush, especially now with Fusion Vegito, I think is a fair trade-off. And this gauge can actually recharge, as long as it hasn't been used yet and Go Frieza is last man standing. Just something worth mentioning. Okay, that's enough. We already know who has the best counter gauge and is Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. And it's not close. I mean, come on, he's able to literally counter anything that isn't a rush, and effectively have 3 more cover changes on top of his normal 2. And that isn't going into the other things this gauge does, like sealing the opponent's main ability, destroying their whole hand, potentially getting a full hand for yourself, being able to fill it up pretty damn quick. Need I say more? So, that was my ranking for every counter gauge in Dragon Ball Legends. Again, if you disagree, please tell me about it in the comments. I feel like I might get some flack for ranking Ultra Gohan below Go Frieza, but if you have a problem with it, then please tell me how I was wrong. Anyways, that's all for this video. See ya!